Hi and welcome and Happy New Year. It is still January, so I am okay to say Happy New Year and good to have you. If you have not subscribed yet, I'm not sure what you're doing. Please do subscribe. Keeps me focused, keeps me going, and allows me to bring you the best of the best in terms of guests to make sure that we start the year on a high. This conversation we're having today is quite important. Have you ever disagreed with someone? How do you turn around to understand each other and have a common goal? Let's talk about that. If you're interested, please subscribe and let's get into that conversation. Sipisa, my viewers understand you now. They know what you do. And of course, they appreciate you. From the conversations I'm seeing, they appreciate your input and your feedback. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us always.
Have you ever disagreed with someone?
A lot.
How then do you agree to disagree so you can achieve a common goal? And this time, our channel is about growth and accountability because we want to grow. We want to be better. That's the whole thing. It's the reason we wake up every morning. It's the reason we dress up and put on shoes and go everywhere you want to go to make money and be better. But then in this context, you get to disagree with people, but you have a common goal, even in our families. How do you do that?
First, the conversation about agreeing to disagree is a conversation between light and darkness. And you must appreciate both. That where there is light, there is darkness in the shadow.
Yeah, true.
And you can only appreciate light because of darkness. So when darkness goes down and you see light, you're
start
excited.
Looking for a torch.
And when light goes down and darkness comes, and you know, oh, I have to sleep. It's time for me to sleep. So the two work in hand. And how do you be able to balance them? One, in the conversation about disagreeing to agree, is that there's what we call conflict management and resolution.
Okay.
There is no area of growth that doesn't have conflict. Even when you study physics, the law of gravity, there is a pull and a push force.
Very true.
And so growing in life, growth in life means you're going to have pull and push forces. Now, one of the most key forces in agreeing to disagree is yourself.
Really?
Many people don't realize that actually we disagree and agree with our own selves a lot of times. And until you learn to manage your own internal disagreement and agreements, then you can't manage the external ones. For example, how many dresses do you have in your wardrobe?
I don't know. Several.
Why are you wearing this today?
I went through them and I chose and I liked the color.
Do you realize there was already a disagreement and agreement in what to choose and what not to choose?
True.
You probably thought about color, you thought about the time of the day, you probably thought about the conversation. You know, for people in fashion and industry, even colors depict emotions.
Very true. It can tell if
they
you're
have
happy or not.
Exactly. When they're in a low mood, they'll wear certain colors that can brighten their day. So managing conflict starts within ourselves. Conflict even on your journey of growth. Where do you want to go? How do you want to go there? With who do you want to go with? Now, the moment you now understand that within your internal realm, it's just like how we have communication. We have intro communication, the introspection, where you check in yourself, you speak to yourself. We're in the public speaking space, and I can tell you most of the time we speak in alone in the mirrors in the house.
Before you get out.
Before you get out. You go in the mirror and you smile and say, I don't like my skin. And you look at your hair and you do the hair, like,
when you change it.
Like it. And then you speak to yourself, and then after you probably record and then listen, say, Kazungu Kange now is getting much better. So that's one way of when you're starting to manage to disagree with agreeing but with yourself. And then when you get from that introspection or that intro conversation, then you get into the interpersonal conversations. And when you get into the interpersonal conversations of where you have Adelle, one of the key things to manage conflict at that stage or agreeing to disagree is one, to seek to understand others rather than you being understood.
And that is what we fail.
Exactly.
We
are
always
selfish
want
human
to.
beings.
I think so. But is it bad to be selfish, sir?
No, it's not bad to be selfish. But now the moment you cross dealing with yourself, the moment I have to understand that I am on a table where there is me, you, and the person behind the cameras, then I must now divorce myself and appreciate and understand you and the person behind the camera. Because if I understand them, then we have a smooth conversation. If I focus on understanding me, I might fail you. And if I fail you, I fail us.
That is very important. I'm thinking emotional intelligence.
Yes.
That's what I'm reading from this conversation.
Yes.
Do you know how hard it is to be emotionally intelligent?
Yes, but you see, we're human beings of emotion. So it's simply telling you, learn to live with people, management, understand them. And that's where the crisis is. Many of us don't focus on understanding how other human beings behave. I watch a lot of Discovery and Animal channels.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've found it very humbling. I've spent the last 1 month understanding how lions behave. And it's amazing how they relate, how they know which lion thinks how, when to attack,
and
how to deal with their pride, how to protect each pride. Even when you see all of them are lions, but they have different prides.
Who should hunt?
Who should hunt? When a little cub is growing up, shockingly, there is a lion meant to mentor the young lion growing up. Not everyone is responsible for that. So as human beings, you cannot survive in conflict management if you never put yourself in another person's shoes. And that's what we call empathy. The moment you start looking at it that way, then you manage to learn to disagree, to agree. But also, what is very important is to appreciate that we come from different backgrounds.
Yeah, diversity.
And I'm happy in Rotary we have a conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You must appreciate that we are raised differently. Your values are not my values. My environment or culture is different from your culture. But it comes back to saying that, so when you meet Adelle, instead of focusing on your culture, understand Adelle's culture first. Then when you understand her culture, then it will inform you why she behaves the way she behaves. And that's one of the things we keep on telling people. Begin with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind is being able to ask yourself why people do what they do. Not what people do. No. If I come on this conversation, it's not what about what I am saying. No, but why has Adelle invited me? Now, the moment you learn that, then you manage a couple of disagreements.
This is really enlightening in terms of self-awareness.
Yes.
Self-regulation.
Yes.
Emotion management.
Yes.
How does this help us into 2023? Because now we are starting the year. We are trying to set the pace. How do you think such mindsets and such emotional understanding will help us navigate through 2023?
You know, when you talk about self-awareness, you know, I would implore everyone to invest hugely into themselves and their awareness.
Yeah.
And when you get into that self-awareness, it helps you to tell you who you are and what you do. There's a different distinction of who is Adelle and what is Adelle. Who is Adelle is your innate strength, is your personality. What you do is a character. You know, when you're watching a movie, we still watch James Bond, but it's a character that is playing a James Bond. So in character, you subscribe to the environment, you subscribe to people, and when you haven't understood who you are, then you clash a lot with what is around you. So it's very important to understand who you are, and then who you are is able to blend you into what you do. You must realize now that I'm more certain what you're doing now speaks deep in who you are.
True. That's very true.
And you realize that managing, therefore, conflict within the space of information about who you are becomes quite simple and critical. You know what to clutter and what to declutter. You know what to archive, you know what to save. You know what to send out, you know what to receive.
And when?
And when. And that comes to answering the 5 W's and the 1 H, which we've studied all the time in high school.
Our lives,
but they make sense now.
Yes.
Why, what, when, which, who, and how.
Very true. I think in everything that we do in an environment, we have to understand people we're dealing with, especially this year. If you're all about growth and you want to be accountable, this is a space to start. You have to manage your emotions.
Yes.
You have to be intelligent to know how to decipher
Yes.
what is working and what is not working, and when is it working.
Yes.
I think what I would like you to tell our listeners or our viewers, how do you sum up agreeing to disagree, emotional intelligence, especially in its applicability in the year 2023? How do we approach it to make sure we are better people? Because we want to be better self.
I think to sum it up is know where to invest your energies. Know what works for you. Know when to let go. Because a lot of conflict and disagreements are brought about by not learning to let go.
True.
Listen to your heart. Listen to your inner self. There are certain battles and fights that you're trying to fight, but you can actually let go of those fights. And it just reminds that disagreeing to agree is hold your two hands and then have two things in your hands. And when you have two things in your hands, this is you, this is probably a friend you're disagreeing with, or the other partner you're disagreeing with. For you to be able to end this conversation and move, you must learn to let go one thing and hold again.
Very true.
If you're going to grab opportunities, you must learn to let go and hold again. It's very important to know when. If you keep holding it, it could burn you, it could freeze your hand, it could break your hand. I think for me, self-awareness is going to be a deep conversation. Watch and listen to a lot that helps you to become more self-aware, and that will help you to understand when to learn to let go. And even in conversations, appreciate that, look, me and Adele have had this conversation and it seems we're not understanding. Can I appreciate that I, the one who doesn't know, and agree to say that I'm going to disagree, but I'm going to agree with Adele that we
are different.
You want to eat matoke, I want to eat posho.
Yeah.
It is well. All of us at the end in mind is we need to get satisfaction. So eat your matoke, I'll eat my posho. At the end of the day, we are all healthy.
That's
you
the
just
objective.
have to keep, exactly. The end in mind is what informs a lot of the decisions we make.
Wow. This conversation, I felt it very vital that we get to understand it as we start this year. If you are not intelligently aware of yourself, emotionally, you're bound to make wrong mistakes, wrong decisions, and that will affect your output at the end of the day. So as we start this new year, sit back, have a retrospective kind of understanding, understand yourself. When you meet people, listen to them. Don't just judge from the onset, and then have an action on how you can agree to disagree, but have an objective of what you want to achieve. So for me, this conversation is very important as we start this new year, because it's only important that we grow together. How to do that? We have to start with ourselves, and then we bring in people from the outside to understand us as well. So this conversation is very important. I hope you've learned something. I hope we've changed, even if it's one person. We are happy with that. In the meantime, do subscribe, do watch Candid Talk. Leave a comment on what you think about this conversation. Do you think emotional intelligence is important in our life decisions? In the meantime, come to Inyamad Gardens, have a cup of tea and enjoy yourself. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.